Hey there, it's time for another update on how my Ezoic sites are doing. If you've noticed, I actually missed reporting for June, so this is going to be like a double report covering both June and July. So I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible because I know that I really hate when I'm watching income reports, and they go on forever. But I did just want to start out here warning you that we are going to be covering 2 months here, so this one may be a bit longer than most of the other videos. Now, before we get started, if this is your first time here, I just want to remind you that the sites that are in this income report, they're just a small portion of my portfolio. I currently have almost 40 active sites that I'm managing, and there are only 5 sites that I have right now that actually are running Ezoic ads, and those are the ads that are in this report. And each month, if I add any new sites to Ezoic, they will be included. If you were here before, you know that a few months ago I added a site to this report, and I also actually removed one, which we'll get to as we get further into this report. Okay, so let's get started right now with the very first site. Okay, so first site here, site number 1, it's in the food and drink niche. I have 2 sites in this niche. This one is the broader of the 2, but they do not cover the same food/drink stuff. So there's no crossover here other than they're in that same broad niche. So let me just refer to my notes here. I want to remind you that in May, the EPMV for this site was $5.73. So if you look at June's numbers and July's numbers here on the screen, you can see that it went up just a penny for June, but then we actually dropped lower in July, which is expected since July is, the first month of a new quarter. Overall revenue just from Ezoic in June was $10.54. In July, that went up to $11.63, so that was nice to see. I don't know if you can actually see the numbers here on the screenshot or not, but it looks like the reason the revenue actually went up in July, even though that EPMB did drop, was simply the fact that traffic to the site actually increased in July over June. Now this site is running some content that has affiliate links in it, primarily Amazon, but I do have some links to Target, Walmart, and a few standalone programs. So the overall total revenue that this site brought in, just for June was $35.53. In July, it jumped up to a whopping $89.10. As you can see, that the Ezoic revenue was only $11.63, so that was quite a lot in terms of affiliate money coming in to make that $89. I'm assuming there where I wrote $4.84 for May, it's got to be a typo. I'm assuming it was probably $24.84. My apologies for not catching that before I started recording. But that's the way it goes sometimes, right? So my focus for this site has been primarily getting content up on the site. In June, though, I got 0 articles up because I was focused on doing, video audits for people who would order those with the promo that I ran in June. I do video audits all the time, so if that's something that you're interested in, I'll drop a link in the description below. And you can let me know if that's something that you need for your site. Most of the people who submitted their sites to me for that had gotten hit by updates, or it was some people who were just kind of stuck and didn't know where to go with their site. So just something to keep in mind for you if you think you need a little extra help. Back to new content for this site, though. I did manage to get up my goal of 10 articles in July. That's like the baseline goal that I have for these sites every single month. So basically, once I hit 10, I stopped, moved on to the next site. Now this site is also one of the 2 sites that I have on Ezoic that I'm doing an experiment with Humix for. For this site, I'm not creating any of my own videos to upload, so the Humix revenue that I'm getting is coming, exclusively from showing other people's videos on this site. So we can see in May that I only earned 19 cents from this. If you've been here before, then you probably remember this has been totally not really worth my time so far. I mean, it didn't take me any time to set it up, but the earnings are really terrible. Just because I don't have my own videos up. But it was nice to see that in June it went up to 35 cents. However, July dropped down to 32 cents. I was a little surprised by that simply because my traffic went up. But I guess the EPMV drop for those videos was enough that it didn't really matter that the traffic had increased for this site. And actually, now that I'm looking back at my notes, that typo, that $484 total revenue in May, that was actually $41.84. So it looks like total revenue went down in June, but it went up by quite a lot in July, which I'm definitely pleased with. I suspect for August that it's not going to be quite that high, but it'd be great if it was, right? So overall for this site, with these 2 months compared to May, traffic overall is up. EPMV though, overall it's down. I think once I get more content up on this site, that will help things. I think this site actually needs like a backlink overhaul as well. This is the site, if you've read the blog post on Skip Blast, you'll remember that I did like hammer this site with a bunch of age domain 301 redirects just to see what would happen. It didn't really work too well, but you never know until you test things. So let's go on now and check out the second site. Okay, site number 2. This is a site in the religion and spirituality niche. According to my notes here, we were looking at an EPMV of only $2.97 in May. So I am really happy to see how much the EPMV increased, not only in June, but also in July. That's actually really surprising because you don't really, it's not normal to see that EPMV jump in that first month of a new quarter. And like this is a niche that, it's pretty evergreen. It doesn't really spike any time of year. So it's super surprising to me that the EPMV did manage to jump in July. Now let's look at total revenue just from Ezoic for this site. $13.16 for June, $19.70 for July. Now this site only has one single post right now that has an affiliate link on it. Simply because, it's a difficult niche to find stuff to promote. There are some things that I could actually start working on. I just honestly haven't taken the time to do it yet. So the additional revenue that you see here for total revenue, that is 100% from having AdSense mediation turned on with Ezoic. So for June, total revenue, $17.93. July went up nicely to $25.26. And as you can see here on the slide, in May, it was just at $13.67 total revenue. So that's really great to see. This site, though, like a year ago, was earning like $50 or more a month. So that's what I'm really trying to get it back up to. So that's just something for you to keep in mind of like where my vision is for this site right now. Of course, I want it to be more than $50 a month, but that's where it was before it got hit by an algorithm update. Just like the previous site, 0 new content uploaded in June. Hit my goal of 10 articles for July. Still all informational content. This is my other site that I'm running the Humix experiment on. And for this site, I have uploaded a total of 2 videos. I uploaded them to YouTube as well. Nothing's really, happening on YouTube with those videos because I just haven't had the time to do any more on YouTube there. What is interesting to note is how much more you earn from Humix when you do upload your own videos. And yes, this site has like 3 times the traffic of the previous site, but still it's worth noting the difference in the amount. So in May from Humix, it was only $1.04. June popped up to $1.36, July to $1.82. I don't know, can I even get a cup of coffee at McDonald's for that? I'm not really sure that I can. But I just uploaded those things once and they're earning, so I guess that's not too bad, right? So overall for this site, we've got both the EPMV up for both months, as well as traffic. It is great to see traffic on the rise for this site. And I think that that's just simply because I've been pumping so much content into it, in the recent months that, I think it's just basically not only giving me more things to rank for, but helping boost the topical authority of this site. Okay, now let's pop on and look at site number 3. So this is my second site in the food and drink niche. And like I said, it doesn't have any crossover with the first one. It is more niched down. To kind of give you an example of what I mean, let's say the first one could be something like desserts, right? Whereas this site would be focused on like just cakes. That's like kind of the difference in these 2 sites. Except of course there's no crossover. So I guess it would be like desserts for the first sites and maybe like, I don't know, chicken dinner recipes or something, I don't know, for this site. There actually aren't any recipes on this site, so I don't know why I said recipes, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of like how niche down this is compared to site number 1. I mean, I think that's important to note simply because you'll notice how different the EPMV is for this site, compared to the first site. And speaking of EPMV, for this site in May, it was looking at $6.26 for the EPMV. Super stoked to see that both June and July have beat May's EPMV. $7.66 in June, and we had that slight drop in July as expected, $7.43. So that brought the total Ezoic revenue for June to $11.78, $12.10 for July. Why the increase with the EPMV drop? Traffic went up just a little bit. That's what we have to thank for that. Now, this site does have affiliate links on it. I would say maybe 20% of the posts have an affiliate link on it. It is primarily Amazon. I think I also have some links out to Target or Walmart. I'm not 100% certain though. So overall, total revenue for June, $26.62, which is an increase from May of the $20.33. July, though, we jumped up to $42.11. I think this site is actually the perfect example, and honestly, site number 1 showed it too for July, of why you can't just primarily focus on ads. If I had just focused on ads, right, I'd only be at like, $12 or so for the month, but instead I'm at $42 for July. So definitely don't sleep on affiliate links for your articles. Even if you're doing primarily informational content, there's always probably going to be something that you can recommend. So just pop that affiliate link in there and see what happens, right? Anyways, back to this site. Just like the first two, 0 content in June. July hit that goal of 10 new articles up. All informational though this time. I've been doing kind of a mix of affiliate and informational content for this site, but this time basically I was just kind of making a mad dash, to get those articles up because I was going on vacation at the end of the month. So it was easier for me just to get up the informational content, so that's what I did. So overall for this site, when we look at May, traffic, even though it did go up in in July compared to June, it's actually a little down compared to May's numbers, which is unfortunate. But the EPMV is up, so if I can get that traffic, back to heading in the right direction and keep the EPMV rising, then things will start to turn around for this site. Okay, site number 4. This is the site that a few months ago moved that right off of Ezoic onto AdSense because I was tired of the really terrible EPMVs. And it's one of those things you just have to test, right? You got to see if you can earn more money somewhere else. Not only did it start earning more money immediately on AdSense, it is still earning more. Like, it's earning more than it has in the past year plus on Ezoic, which isn't really the way it's supposed to work. But why question it, right? I'm just doing whatever makes the most money for this site. So this site is no longer getting updates on these income reports. Maybe at the end of the year, I'll give you an update to let you know how things went after moving it. Okay, on to the next site. Okay, site number 5, Outdoors Niche. Super general, covers everything outdoors, from camping to mountain biking, anything that can be considered, outdoors, things like survivalist sites. I've got it all on this site. I launched this site at the end of last year with over 200 posts covering all those topics just to see what kind of pops so that I could then make my content plan going forward. It's been a little bit of a struggle. I think Google didn't know what to do with this site initially, but things seem to be starting to turn around for it, so I'm happy with that. Okay, looking at my notes here, in May, the EPMV for this site was $7.29. Again, super stoked to see that both June and July managed to beat that. $8.99 in June. Then we had that July drop as expected to $8.10. But like I said, it still beat May, so I'm pretty happy about that. Overall revenue just from Ezoic for June, $17.78. July, that terrible EPMV drop and unfortunately a traffic drop, that made it $13.39 just from Ezoic. This site has affiliate offers. It's got Amazon, it's got REI. What else does it have? Backcountry, Patagonia. I know there's some others, but basically I'm in AvantLink, so I've got all those outdoor programs in there, some standalone brands that are very niched down. Like I said, Amazon, Target, Walmart, basically there's tons of affiliate program options for this niche. And since I've gone so broad, it was super easy for me to have a lot of options for buyers. So we're looking at total revenue in May. It was only $43.19. It's nice to see in June, though, that it did jump up to $50.30, although what the hell happened in July, I have no idea, because it dropped, to $27.22. Now, I haven't actually taken a look at the content on this site to see like how much I have in each cluster, so it's possible that for July I don't have enough content for whatever outdoors topic peaks, so that could be what's going on there. Like I said, I haven't really looked because, one, I haven't had the time. Two, these sites are all my smaller sites, so they're not really priorities. And three, I don't know. I don't have another answer for you there. It is something I do need to look at, though, just because I really hate having sites that are too seasonal, because you have those super high months and the rest of the year is just terrible. So I do need to go through this site, check out my topic clusters, see how those look, make sure I have stuff to hit. Every outdoors sub niche is peak. So. June, though, didn't get any new content up, just like the other sites. July hit that number of 10 and then powered on through to the next site. The 10 articles were a mixture of affiliate focused content as well as informational, skewed a little more towards informational just because, like I said, it's easier to get those articles up and published. This site is also running Lasso for those product boxes. It's converting really well across every site that I have it on. So if you are looking for an affiliate plugin, skip AWP, skip affiliate table, go right to Lasso. I ran a comparison back in February of this year, which I'll drop the link to that case study I did below. Lasso outperformed them all by quite a good margin. So definitely something to consider if you are looking for an affiliate, plugin for your site. So overall for this site, as you can see, traffic is down. It's even down for May, which is unfortunate. EPMV, though, it's nice to see this up. Again, like the previous site, if I can get the traffic headed back in the right direction and keep those EPMVs climbing, things will turn around. Like the last site, I have an inkling of what's going on here, which I will cover once we get to the end of this income report, so make sure you stay tuned for that. I think that's all I have for this site, though, so let's pop on to the next site. Okay, last site in this report, gardening niche. I've actually never worked in the gardening niche, and I'm actually crazy. Like, these EPMBs are crazy, and even for Ezoic, right? I know people who have gardening sites on AdThrive and Mediavine, and they're getting like $40 to $60 for their RPM, which is honestly what got me to try out the gardening niche. Like, and let me tell you, I cannot keep any plant alive, so I'm like the last person who should have a gardening site. But it's great to see how high this pays. So if you're looking for a niche, this is definitely one that I recommend for you to start out, and tons of informational content that you can create as well. But yeah, so EPMV, looking at my notes, back in May, it was only at $17.66. So it is great to see that both June and July increased. Love seeing that June, $20.49. As expected, though, dropped in July to $18.97. Total revenue just from Ezoic in June, $207.24. July, almost identical despite the EPMV drop. That's because, as you can see in the screenshot here, traffic went up quite a bit, which was actually great to see because traffic had actually dropped in May. So anyways, July Ezoic revenue, $207.17. So total revenue, this site, it skews mostly informational content, just because I'd known, like I said, that the RPMs were crazy high in this niche. But I do have some affiliate content, and I'm working on getting more of that up. In May, the total revenue for this site was actually $508.71 because I made an insane sale on Amazon for something that cost over $3,000. So that was like a crazy anomaly, and I knew that that would not continue. Anyways, for June, total revenue dropped to $298.77. Like I said, I fully expected that. And the bright side here is that it is still more total revenue than I got in April, so I'm pleased with that, even though it was a drop from that $508. Then in July, I got a slight bump, $307.85. I assume that that's just because the traffic is back to growing on this site. And I did manage to actually get up content on this site in June. It was the only one of these sites I got the 10 articles up on, and then I got 10 up in July as well. And if you recall from the previous updates, I was really focusing on this site and trying to get as much content up as possible, because my real goal with this site is getting it up to 30,000 page views so that I can add it on to AdThrive as a secondary site and get those, higher RPMs that I've been hearing about from other people. But what's really weird is when I first put this site on Ezoic, traffic was doubling every month. And then traffic started declining. This is one of those things that you always hear people say, is that putting Ezoic on their sites kills their traffic. But I feel like that's one of those things you can never, really test, because you can't get a clean test because you can't control what's going on in the search results, right? We have zero control over these algorithm updates and changes. So there's no way to know for sure that putting the ads on your site is what is responsible for the traffic drop. So I've kind of toyed with the idea of completely removing the Ezoic ads and going back to AdSense. But I'm really hesitant to do that because not only, was my RPM much lower on AdSense, but, I build sites to flip. So I don't want to kill my monthly average by removing, this $207 from ads that's coming into the site. So I don't know, maybe when the peak season for gardening dies, which I need to look in Google Trends to discover when that is, since I've never worked in this niche. But maybe when that happens, I will test that. I've actually been following, I don't know if you've seen the videos that Carl Broadbent is doing on removing ads from his travel site, because I'm really curious how that works out for him. And he's not, I think, maybe 10 days into it at the time of recording this video here. And I saw that when he first removed the ads, his traffic dropped a bit for a few days, but then it started rising again. But like I said, we don't know if removing the ads affected that at all, or if it's just the turbulence that's going on in the Google search results. But that's definitely something that I'm going to be paying attention to see how that works out for him. I recommend, if you're not familiar with his channel, that you look for those videos as well and see how that goes for him. So overall for this site compared to May, traffic is, it's been on a bit of a roller coaster. I think the July traffic is back to what it was in May, if I recall correctly. Still a far cry from that 30,000 monthly page views that my goal is though. So who knows when I'll actually reach that. But I am super happy to see that EPMV is on the rise. I have a feeling this is the peak time though for gardening, so it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the year plays out for this site. Okay, and here's just a quick overview for you to check out of the sites for both June and July. Like I said, just the sites that I have on Ezoic. If I didn't have any affiliate links on any of these sites, then it looks like my income for June would only have been $260.50. And then for did I make a typo there? No, I'm sorry. Then for July, we're looking at $263.99. That's not even enough to pay my car payment, right? So this is again, like I said, it's super important to not sleep on putting affiliate links in your content, because when you add in affiliate, that ups the June revenue to $429.15. July, $491.54. Both of those pay my car payment, right? So that's just something to think about if you're new to building sites like this. Definitely do not sleep on the affiliate links. Across these sites, the EPMV did increase for most of them, which was a little surprising, like I said earlier, because in July, that's the first month of a new quarter. We tend to see that drop in EPMV. Just referring to my notes here too. This was actually the first time here in July when 100% of the content that I posted across all of these sites was actually AI generated and then human, edited and optimized. And before, I'd only been doing that with site number 2, so I didn't want to disclose that right now to you guys. What I am doing for this content is I'm using a combination of Cuppa, which there's a link to that down below. It's one of my favorite ways to create content. You can create AI content so cheap with Cuppa, it's crazy. And it doesn't need a ton of editing, quite honestly. And when I'm not doing that, I actually have a team, with my agency where they're doing AI optimized content for clients. I just utilize them because I didn't really have the time, to do it on my own. That's honestly how I was able to actually, get content up across all of those sites for July while I was, finishing up those video audits from June and preparing to go on vacation. So I did just want to disclose that 100% of the content across these sites but starting in July and going forward, will be created by AI and then, just edited by humans, optimized with either ScaleNut or Phrase. I'll leave links to those below as well if you're not familiar with them. And I did want to remind you that site number 1 and number 2 are both part of my Humix experiment. Only site number 2 is the one where I've uploaded my own videos. Just 2 videos so far. Didn't upload any new ones. I don't even know if I will, quite honestly. And as a reminder, just because, the total amount of money I earned each month, affiliate income contributed quite a lot to that compared to just ads alone. I just want to remind you, in case you missed it earlier, Amazon is what I'm using across most of these sites. I do have some other affiliate links on some sites I don't, so I did just want to disclose that to you as well. And I did a more in-depth update on these sites, on SkipBlast. And in case you missed that, I did want to let you know, as I alluded to earlier, that for sites number 3 and number 5, seeing the landscape of those niches right now, it appears that I need to get, a better focus on link building for those sites. And that's despite the fact that site number 3 is on an age domain, but it is a lower DR one. Because I'm starting to see higher DR sites take some of my rankings. I also have a feeling that site number 3 has been the target of either some negative SEO or just like a ton of really spammy links. So I may need to actually do a disavow file for that site. I know that's like super controversial, in our industry. A lot of people saying that you shouldn't do it because Google, can handle it. But in my experience, that's not always the case. So that's why I'm actually considering doing a disavow on site number 3. And that's really all I have on these sites for June and July. I'm just kind of like still doing, my focus on content for these sites. I do hope to get site number 6 up to that 30,000 page views. But with the way things are going right now, I don't really know when that will be. Maybe I'll start doing some more link building, for that site. It is also on an age domain, but link building may be what it needs to kind of give it that boost that I'm hoping for. So yeah, that is all I have. If you have any questions for me, about these sites for June and July, go ahead and drop them in the comments below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. If I don't know the answer, I will go and find it for you. And if you're looking for some new training, I actually just opened up a new membership program called Blogging Success Engine that I'll link to below that you can join for only $39 a month starting out.